I'll tell you what, though, after a hell of a weird show today, let's bring it all down to a fine of a point as we possibly can. It's time to get that motherfucking grains of sand. That's what I'm talking about out there. Now, Phil, we talked about this earlier, that we've had some odd grains of sand segments where it's just things being created all over the place. We've had some segments where we've had to go, oh, well, goddamn, this is what we said was going to happen, so all we're doing is going, yeah, okay, called it a year ago. But on today's segment, we want to look at a little bit of what happens when all these things that seem like they're kind of just out there in the ether, the almost kind of randomized events that happen out there. You know what I mean? How those kind of end up clamping down into a nexus that creates a real problem. And this is one of the primary functions of a segment like Grains of Sand. The point here is to make you recognize that the shit we distract ourselves with domestically is a gigantic waste of time in comparison to what's actually going on out there. So let's start it off with some vitamin C on the screen. China and Taiwan face off in pineapple war. Now, if you don't know, Taiwan's been looking at trying to become independent of Big China for a while. Big China told fake China that if they try that shit, it's going to be fucking war. Now, in order to make sure they put their thumb down as hard as they can, China has started coming up with all kind of reasons why they don't want to import anything from Taiwan. They're looking to cripple Taiwan's economy in one way or another. You know they have sophisticated tactics like that. They're trying to do it to us. So, one of the big things right now is that Taiwan exports pineapples to Big China, and now they're not buying their fucking pineapples anymore, and it's become a huge thing. But remember, this is all just a broken tail light to give China an excuse to do what they've been wanting to do this entire fucking time, and we've been talking about it. They are looking to manifest their destiny. That's right. China wants to expand their borders. They've had border skirmishes in fucking India. They're trying to keep Hong Kong in line, Taiwan. You know, they're trying to make these little moves, man, and grow in size. They're manifesting their destiny because they know they can have a larger geographic foothold and have a better shot at the things that they perceive to be upcoming in the future years. Now, what I want you to keep in mind here, guys, is that while China is currently trying to expand their borders and manifest their destiny, what have I been telling you guys the United States should do for fucking ever? I've been saying it, I've said it and said it and said it and said it, that we should get back to annexing more fucking countries, bring them into the fucking, it ain't gotta be wars, we could do it all on paper now, you know what I mean?
Oh,
make some of these U.S. territories and states.
At this point,
yeah, man. Annex Canada, make that 5 states. Annex Central America. Just start building this Western Hemisphere blockade. I think we could all benefit from it, provided that America is the one who makes the move to do it. That would be interesting if we were to choose to do that. But just keep an eye open, or keep that in your memory for the time being. Now, China, back to them expanding their borders. These fucking guys are not only doing it in what you would call a more hot way, a more direct way, they're also doing it in a cold way too. We've seen several times that, here recently in the States where people that were caught working for the Chinese military and or the Chinese government were caught working at American companies and spying on it, taking information, and all of these different crazy things that you imagine are like movies only, but did in fact happen. Well, they're doing it all over the world at this point. European spies are alarmed after a scientist with top security clearance was caught working for China. Oh boy, shit. Phil, they are spreading out. That's not just expanding their borders in a physical way. They're expanding their mental borders as well, where they have access to information from countries all over the world. God damn, there's got to be a way to tourniquet this off, that flow of information to Xi Jinping and the Beijing bling. Now, luckily, the king of capitalism chimed in on this one, and I got the loads. There we go. Elon Musk says Tesla won't share data from its cars with China or the U.S. for that matter. When questioned as to whether or not he would be sharing data with China, the fact is not sharing. They're a corporation. They're not sharing it with any governments, was what he was saying. But this is only one small step to making sure that that information doesn't all flow over to the Chinese government when we know what the fuck is happening. Now, that's what's going on with China this week. China is all about harvesting information right now. They've been good copping it for a few weeks out there. Now, let's take a look at somebody else, another major player in this newer struggle we've been dealing with and talking about grains of sand. In a country that I've been telling you for a long time is fucking colluding with China, and yet they keep trying to have some level of public face that makes it look like they're not. Hard to say, though, because old habits die hard. Takes one to know one. Putin hits back after Joe Biden's killer accusation video. And can I just say, by the way, this face on Putin right here is a classic.
What?
If you didn't see it, fucking old Biden called Putin a killer. And Putin said, hey, takes one to know one. He never at any time denies now or ever has that he is a fucking mass murderer. But he's getting done whatever the fuck he gets done in his country. I certainly wouldn't want to fucking live there with him ruling the fucking place. But what I will say is it's interesting to note how quickly relations with Russia have deteriorated over the last year. It's almost like they were prepping for this the whole time. Russia recalls its U.S. ambassador. Putin throws two insults back at her, calls me, okay, blah, blah, blah. These two old guys talk shit to each other. But Russia was prepared to pull its guys back. Huh.
Yeah.
They also were prepared with what to do next. Russia threatens vaccine sabotage, blackmail, and a spy boost after Biden calls Putin a killer. Really? So you're telling me that Russia was ready to up their Cold War game as soon as America made a fucking move? We walked right into the trap and bam! Now they've got all of this shit just ready to fucking rock and roll. It's almost like they wanted it to go this way. Here's one of questionable origin. U.S. intelligence report concludes Russia and Iran tried to influence election. Okay, now we've heard a lot of stories like this before. Everybody's trying to collude in everybody's election. Okay, maybe not. I don't know. But the point of this is this. With Russia doing all of these things and suddenly finding ways to pull away from the United States, talking about us being their enemy and making a lot of really vague, maybe I wouldn't say threats, but they're using some strong language just in general. Right? And they don't have a direct affiliation with China. And we know that China has been funding a little country you might have heard of called Iran. Now, we've been talking about Russia also funding Iran, but it hasn't been very direct in the last year. Now, even if this is looking for a way to steer information to say that the reason these countries are working together is in order to influence elections, and maybe that's true, maybe that's not. What I think it does say is that, yes, Russia and Iran are working together. Now, we've talked about Iran several times. It's a damn shame what happened to those folks. It really is. If you don't know, here in the United States, we have a fair amount of Persian population because a lot of people, immigrants from Iran, came here in the late 70s and early 80s because Iran decided to let their fucking ultra-zealous religion run their government. Okay, a lot of people bailed out when that shit happened, and to be honest, I don't blame them. Since then, religion has run the government there, and things have not gone particularly well for Iran over the last 30 years, I guess depending on who you ask. But you have to remember, this is the clergy running the fucking military, right? So one of our concerns here in the States for a long time has been whether or not Iran could have the fucking capability to fire a nuclear missile at the United States, right? That's the $50 million question for all of this, right? And we've been talking about it. This is the same Iran that accidentally hit their own boat with one of their missiles during a fucking military exercise in the Persian Gulf, right? This is the same Iran that is letting their clergy operate their military hardware to a point that they're literally having to bury missiles in caves because they don't have a facility to hide them in. This is the same Iran that said, oh, we just want to get this uranium because we want nuclear power. We need power. Right? When nobody knew that China and Russia were both backing Iran, and Iran started stockpiling uranium, they said, we want to build power plants. And even the UN, the United, everybody went, okay, fine. Build a fucking power plant. But what have I been telling you guys for the last year? Okay, we've seen what Russia's done here.
Yep.
How they're working with Iran. And by the way, whether the election meddling is accurate or not, their religious leadership sure does celebrate anything going wrong in the United States time and time and time again.
Every time, yeah.
We've seen it so many fucking times, man. Now, the thing is, with China good copping it like this and putting the squeeze on neighboring nations, and us in turn as well. Them financing Iran, and then Russia over here pulling away from its first world country allies in multiple situations, and then also funding Iran. Man, it sure would be a fucking pain in the ass if we had real proof that China and Russia were working together to fund Iran.
Cahooting.
Man, that sure would be something if we had something solid on that at this point.
Do we?
U.S. military says China and Russia may be collaborating south of the U.S. border. God damn it, Phil. God damn it, Phil.
U.S. border? As if you had... Oh, my God.
Now, here's where it gets real interesting, Phil. Now, here's China and Russia south of the U.S. border collaborating. Now, what did I tell you at the beginning of this segment? We should have expanded our borders a long time ago. And when you ask, but Gasly, why would China and Russia collude in Central America? What could they possibly have to gain by setting up shop down there? Well, guys, remember back to the beginning of the Grains of Sand series, and remember what this is all about when it comes down to it. Petróleos Mexicanos CEO touts discovery of a billion barrel field.
Billion.
So when the U.S. is not working with Mexico at the capacity that Mexico would like, and suddenly China and Russia step in and say, hey, we'll fund whatever the fuck you want because we want that oil. Where do you think that fucking deal goes, man? And now you've got China and Russia with shop set up literally 6 hours from my house.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Do you understand the importance of them creating a foothold that close to the United States? And they've been working their way closer for a while. Let me ask you this, Phil. What's just south of Central America?
South America?
That's right. And what countries in South America are in financial collapse because their socialist government led them to economic ruin so that they are easily swayed by the money of foreign powers who promise to come in and fix their problems as long as they do what they say? What countries are there like that in South America?
I would say there's one in particular that Iran has been running games with in the Gulf of Mexico over there with Cuba as well.
That's right. Let's take a look at the fucking screens right here. Oh, don't give me the loads on a fucking build-up that good. Bam! China buys more Iranian and Venezuelan oil in a test for Biden. So now they're funding Venezuela.
Son of a bitch!
So now, China, after funding Iran...
Now, this has been happening. You've been talking about this for a fucking year, over a year.
Oh, yeah. So now China is backing Iran, backing Mexico, backing Venezuela. Just getting closer and closer and closer. And let me ask you this. If you're Iran, right? You're caught in the middle of this little love triangle. You got cash coming in from Russia, from China. You're just kind of storing weapons for them and whatever you do. You're doing these cross-country trips. You're the delivery guy, basically. Essentially is what Iran is. Iran is like China and Russia's little bitch. And he's just doing all the fucking deliveries right now. I hope you're listening, Ayatollah. But... when all of that happens, okay, so they've got a deal going with Venezuela too. Well, what does Venezuela have to do with this at this point? Yeah, they could buy oil there, but they could buy oil in Mexico. They could buy oil in several places. What additional service could Venezuela offer the Russian and Chinese governments, or by proxy, the Iranian government?
You mean other than South American culture?
Yeah, fair enough. Opposition Chief Guaido says Iran is the likely key destination for smuggled Venezuelan uranium. Let me unpack that for you, friends. Venezuela doesn't just have oil, they have uranium, as in the shit that you need to build nuclear bombs. And you know how they keep getting caught having these disguised ships going back and forth between Iran and Venezuela? They keep pretending to be this and that. Remember when we were like, we know it's not the oil. We know it's not just the oil. It can't be. There was the one with the jet fuel that they found. There was the one that might have been weapons. But it's not just that. It's fucking uranium. Dude. So China provides you with technology. Russia provides you with money. Venezuela provides you with the key resource. Remember before when we were talking about how the clergy wouldn't be able to build a nuclear bomb on their own? Well, they're not on their own. They're not on their own, and that is the problem. In fact, that problem is becoming so real that a fucking organization that put China, Russia, Iran all on the Human Rights Council, even the fucking UN has finally said, oh Christ, Iran's building shit that you need to fucking make missiles. Oh shit. Even the UN, when even the UN goes back on what they say to say, oh shit, they're building some stuff that you could use to build missiles in Iran. And somehow, we didn't see this coming at all. We had no fucking idea. So
obviously not watchers of the Fright Power Hour.
Ain't that the damn truth? So when all of this happens, man, what is Iran? With all of this stuff flying around, what does fucking Iran have to say about this? Well, the Iran lawmakers admit that this whole nuclear expansion thing that we're doing right now is just leverage on the United States. That's it. It ain't about power. It ain't about missiles. It ain't even about conquest. It's about fucking oil contracts. And don't be fooled that it's something else. So them building missiles is just leverage. That's all they're looking at here. So to finish this up, guys, Iran probably already has the bomb. Here's what to do about it. What to do about it? I'll tell you what to do about it, friends. Quit letting yourself be distracted by the mainstream media and their perpetual state of telling you that you should be divided against the people that are on your same team. Quit letting these little petty fucking differences drive us into tribalism within our own country to the point that we cannot get anything done anymore. Nothing gets done here anymore because we spend all our time arguing with each other. If you say to me that the possible solution for finding a way for America to get some level of solidarity going among its populace is a common enemy, for Christ's sake, I don't know what to tell you anymore, guys. But it's starting to get a little too fucking real when even Yahoo News says that Iran is building a fucking bomb. So please, stop it with all the bullshit and start noticing the real fucking problem.
I'm not a criminal. I'm an artist working in an unpopular medium. Can I just speak to you? I mean, really speak to you like a man to man. I've known you for a long time. And I know about your penchant for spying on women.